In many conferences and events in the UK, France or the US, Muslims encourage each other to be leaders. We need to be leaders, but leaders of what? Leaders in what? What does leader even mean? The problem is the term has been politically appropriated, especially in the counter-extremism circles. Now, leader can mean everything and its opposite. An organization like the Muslim Leadership Initiative would have a very different definition of leadership than someone, let's say, like Abdul Hakim Murad and his paradigm of leadership. This video is based on ideas that I write about in my book Young Muslim Changemakers, the article Neoliberal Not-for-Profits, and a presentation I gave at Zaytuna College. This is based on 9 years of fieldwork with grassroots organizations, and my observations are very simple. I've noticed that the most successful organizations do not encourage leadership, but stewardship. And this is what this video is about. In our society, people have conflated leadership with arrogance. If you read the class ceiling, you already know that jobs and promotions are not given to the workers with the most skills, the most experience, or the most qualifications. Cultural, social, and economic markers play a much more important role in these dynamics than anything else. Instead, it very often happens that these jobs and promotions are given to those with the highest confidence, even if they're being completely arrogant. This results in what Friedman and Lauriston called the stupidity paradox, where positions with high responsibilities are given to rather mediocre people. Same in the media, where attention is given to those who provoke the most controversies. And any social media influencer would tell you there's no bad press or good press because it all boosts engagement rates. Scandals in the Silicon Valley or individuals like the Tinder swindler show that we live in an age where creating the illusion of something is more important than actually doing something. And it's very easy to get away with it. The Western leader is a divider. The Western concept of leader stems from the Greek mythology. Just like Hercules, for example, it's often a single person, often a man, equipped with a supernatural strength, intellect, or powers. They are the ancestors of modern-day superheroes. The leader has enemies, but it doesn't have companions. The leader has followers, just like Ulysses, taking the Argonauts for a ride, and taking in the end all the merit for himself. The idea of a leader as a single individual provoking changes in history is a form of bias that is called the great man theory, attributed to Thomas Carlyle in 1840. The theory posits that history is the making of unique individuals who were able to change and shape history through their superior strength, intellect, or charisma. Highly popular, this theory has led people to believe that history is made by great men instead of political, social, or economic movements. If we were to apply this theory to Islam, it would suggest that the spread of Islam across the globe would be the doing of Prophet Muhammad's charisma alone, while it would completely overlook the role of the wives, the family, the companions of the Prophet, and the array of political, social, economic reforms that occurred in the Arab society in the early days of Islam that attracted so many people from underprivileged backgrounds who were looking for liberation and freedom in Islam, which provided ways to flee from oppression, poverty, debt, slavery, and many more. The modern idea of a leader creates a division between the leader and the rest of the world, categorized in enemies and followers. Conversely, the concept of steward or Khilafa in Islam puts the emphasis on family, community, and unity, as opposed to enmity and competition. The idea of Khilafa argues that change cannot happen by the hands of a single person. It is the work of a whole community. And if you don't think that dividing has something diabolical, well, know that the ancient Greek diabolos the word for the devil, means exactly that, to divide. The modern leader is a destroyer. The Herculean executive who graduated from prestigious schools and universities managed to succeed in his exams and crushing or ruling out the other contestants. The Herculean president managed to come into power after defeating and crushing the other candidates. And same, the businessman, it's all about crushing the competition. The Herculean hero is a machine producing results and only thinking in terms of problems and solutions. In France, before people borrowed the term leader from the English language, people would use the term elite. And still nowadays, the whole French schooling system is geared towards creating the elites. Elite is the same term that Hannah Arendt describes as an oligarchic form of government, which supposes the domination of the whole society by only a few. And just like Arendt, Bell Hooks argues that the modern idea of leadership is based in what she calls a dominator model. The modern idea of leader is the opposite of the biblical prophets we find in Abrahamic faiths. The biblical prophets would find their strength in God and make a point of supporting those weaker than them, not crushing them. And the greatest strength of the prophets across history was not gathering armies and crushing opponents. It was the greatest strength of the prophets was to turn their enemies into allies. Examples of prophetic stewardship include, for example, Salahuddin, who, victorious, let his enemies go back to their homes without killing them or capturing them. Another prophetic example from the prophet himself, when he was received by stones by the people of Ta'if, God offered to then destroy Ta'if, but the prophet declined, saying that maybe in the future they'll have better children. The prophet used to say that a strong man is not the one with the most wealth or physical strength or power. It is the one who controls the anger. We cannot be strong if we are not patient. We cannot be strong if we are not true Khilafa, if we don't take care of others. Many people believe that the ultimate goal of a leader is to end up being the equivalent of a king, sitting on the throne, enjoying the fruit of years of labor and now being served by people. However, the prophet was not wealthy and was not like a king sitting on the throne doing nothing while being served by people. It was quite the opposite. And this definition of leadership would be even contrary to the modern Western idea of a leader. This is something completely different. And if we were to find a name for that, maybe we should call this like a passive Pasha, something borrowed to the Orientalist conception of leadership. So the concept of Khilafa or stewardship is completely opposed to the idea of leadership as we know it. It connotes a duty of care towards all of the creation. The prophet, peace be upon him, was sent as a mercy not only to those around him but to the whole of the creation, the animals, the rocks, the climate and everything. So if we say that we are following prophetic example, then the question we should be asking ourselves every day is, are we being a mercy to others in the whole of creation? The mercy that Salahuddin or that the prophet showed to their enemies would be considered nowadays as signs of weakness, even amongst Muslims. The prophets put emphasis on values such as patience, mercy, forgiveness, perseverance, and resilience, instead of competition and enmity. The Western leader is the one who displaces, who shifts the balance. The prophet would actually work towards restoring balance and harmony. The caliph would be, or the steward would be, a facilitator of skills and energies, not someone who uses people like tools. The caliph or steward is not the actor of change, but its medium. In the workplace, things are changing, and I hear many people talking now about serving leadership. Well, if they were to open a Quran, they would find that there's like easy and shorter words for that. Workplaces are stopping to use IQ as a benchmark for performance before hiring people. Now people are talking about things such as EQ, emotional quotient. Can you spot people in difficulty and help them and support them? There is also SQ, a social quotient, which is not about how popular you are, but how long can you keep your friends. There is also AQ, adversity quotient. Can you fall, accept failure, learn from it, and get up again? These are all very small changes, but they all show that the business world is changing, and people are realizing that the idea of leader is obsolete and used to cause more harm than good. But if the business world realizes it, well, that's quite of a big thing, because they don't usually are those who care the most about, human well-being. As a conclusion, be careful when it comes to copying and pasting any words that we hear in the workplace or in the business world and applying them to things such as faith or the not-for-profit sector. Otherwise, we are at risk of creating monsters, such as those I talk about in my book, Young Muslim Changemakers, or the article Neoliberal Not-for-Profits, where we see, and I've seen, charities, not-for-profit humanitarian NGOs who end up exploiting the people they are supposed to serve, while the CEO drives a Porsche. Yes, a Porsche, because it's a German word and the E is not muted in German. Thanks for watching, but again, do not subscribe to this channel, because this is not a channel about leadership, about many other different things. In the meantime, take care, and until next time.